All right, Richard Gould with Richard's Painting. I appreciate you jumping on this morning. I know you and I have been connected for a while on, I believe, Instagram, and we've been chatting back and forth. And I've been getting some good insights from you just on the franchisor side of things. And it looks like you've had some good success over the last year or two with your franchise brand. And I know you're fairly local to us here in Charlotte, being up in Salisbury. So this is an exciting one for me, Richard. Your home services, we're home services. Your painting, we're junk removal. So obviously not competitors by any means, but definitely in the same overall industry. And looking forward to hearing your story, how you got to where you're at, and you're picking your brain a little bit. So I'll turn it over to you, Richard. Just tell us a little bit about Richard's Painting, how it came about, where you guys are at today, and then ultimately your vision for the future.
Well, it's a pretty simple story. Was a young kid. When you're a kid, you always dream of being a painter, right? Like when you're a kid, isn't that something that people do? I wish that was the story, but truth is, I was in between jobs, and I was, 19 years old, and a friend of mine said, hey, do you want to go paint? And so I said, sure. I went and painted. Met a great guy named Don Greer, who, I ended up working for him for 7, 8 years. I buy the business. He's ready to retire. I take over the business. And the business then is called Nassau Painting. And we were based in New Jersey, around Princeton University. And, every business in that area, you were either Nassau Plumbing, Nassau Electric,
Yeah.
Nassau Painting, because Nassau Street runs right through the center of Princeton University. So anyway, I end up running the business for 5 years. I decide that, where I am in my life, I think I want to move and relocate to North Carolina. And I sell the business, move to North Carolina, and start all over again. Well, one of the things I learned really quickly is that it's way easier to have a business that's already up and running compared to having to start from scratch. And then
Sure.
start from scratch, being from a totally different area, moving to a new area in the South from the North, you're a little bit different, right? And so it takes a while for people to respond to you.
Mm.
So one of the biggest things is the reason it's Richard's Painting now was because I kept the same name, Nassau Painting, and I wanted to keep continue that name. Um, but people were confused. They were like, Nassau Painting, is that Nassau Bahamas, Nassau Long Island? Like, what
Yeah.
is it? And
Yeah.
so I just simply changed it to Richard's Painting. It is my name, but I also thought, well, Richard's Painting sounds so familiar. Like it's just like it's been around for a long time, and they've had to be here.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's coincidence or just I learned how to better market and do different things. Things started to go up from there, and within a short period of time, we've become the best painting service in the area. We are doing well over $1 million in sales every year consistently for the last 7 to 10 years. And I was at a point where I wanted to grow, right? I wanted to say, okay, how do I take Richard's Painting further? But problem with that is I don't really want to travel that far. So I wasn't going to be the leader of that pack. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to drive an hour to earn the same amount of money I can drive 10 minutes to. So
Mm.
I was, on LinkedIn looking at things, and I say, well, let me try franchising. Maybe that might be a way that, I can get other people who are owners who are going to have some skin in the game, who are going to take responsibility on, and I can have some of the responsibility to train and teach and do all those things, and they can help grow the business just as much as myself.
Yeah.
Um, so what I did was I went and started another location in Mooresville, Lake Norman area,
Hmm.
and because what I wanted to do was I wanted to know if was it me that was that great or was it the business that was that good, right?
Yeah.
And so because if to start a franchise, I wanted to make sure that it would work for other people. It's great that it worked for me, but how do I know it worked for anybody else? So we go do I go do that, hire a general manager. They go out and start doing. And in the first year, I think we did $250,000 in sales. I think
Hmm.
year two, we were tracking for 350, and I said, okay, this works without me. It doesn't have to be me, Richard. So funny thing, before our call, we're talking. My first phone call was the franchise fast lane, and I talked to Ryan, who was in charge at that point, and I said, "Hey, I want a franchise." And at that moment, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're looking for a painting brand." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." And he says,
Yeah.
"All right." He says, "Well, can you send me your FDD and this and other thing?" I'm like, "FDD? What's that?" I didn't even know that what it was. Okay.
Mm,
And he says, "Hey, you're not. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're just not ready for us yet." I'm like, "Okay." And
yeah.
so I said, "Well, then how do I become ready?" And so I'm glad that he helped me out. He gave me a couple names of some people. He ends up giving me Chris Connor from Franchise Marketing Systems,
Mm,
and they're a company that helps smaller businesses like mine start their franchise. They put the FDD together, get me do a little bit of marketing, and I was on my way.
yeah.
And that's how franchise started.
That's awesome, and an amazing story, and one that we can obviously resonate with very closely because we're based out of the Charlotte area, specifically that Mooresville area, so very close with you. What I've always found interesting with painting, I've never been in the business, but just outside looking in and being in franchising now for a little over a year and learning about different brands and specifically home services. A lot of services like painting, pressure washing, so on and so forth, seems very localized to your point, like $1 million in sales a year. And you probably cover what, like a 20-30 minute radius around Salisbury or getting down into Mooresville as well. For junk removal, those numbers are very much attainable as well, but we have to cover the entire metro of Charlotte, right? We don't have a painting job 10 minutes down the road lined up for this week and then another one 15 minutes away for it's just you go where Sally Sue decides she needs you in that day, right? Like she goes out to her garage and just gets a wild hair, like, I got to get this cleaned out today. And you better be there same day or next day, or she's calling the next person. So a little bit of difference there in our business models, but nonetheless, a lot of similarities as well. In terms of just the franchise system, Richard, when you're talking with folks that want to come and be a part of what you're doing there, open up in Nashville, they want to open in Raleigh, they want to open in Wilmington, what have you. How are you kind of separating yourself from the pack in terms of not just other home service brands, but specifically other painting franchises that they might be able to buy into? Like, is it a differentiator? Is it a support system? And within the franchise system that you sell on. How are you how are you what are you attributing your success to on the franchise side and getting folks to really buy into your vision?
Well, the first step is really just getting the right people, right? You got to get people who buy into what you're selling, and what
Mm,
we're selling is we are a quality painting company. We hire employees to do our painting. We don't use subcontractors. That's probably our biggest differentiator between
mm,
90% of the other painting franchises out there, where we are all we don't use subcontractors at all. The reason we do that is because quality of work is when that's your number one goal, then you need to have employees, because subcontractors, while I'm sure there's great subcontractors out there, the problem is the system doesn't work when you are bidding a job that, let's say, it's $10,000 and you're paying the subcontractor five, right? And he's buying his own material, has to supply his own insurance, has to hire his own people, and then he's got to come in and perform this job, a $10,000 job for 5,000.
mm,
So, just it's not that complicated to figure out that it's never going to be the quality of work that it needs to be, because there's not enough time, there's not enough money involved.
yeah,
So their goals are to do it as quickly as possible, right?
yeah,
And they're going to be shortcuts taken. The relationship with the customer and the company are going to be compromised, because there's always going to be issues. No matter what happens, there's always issues. We have many franchises out there who offer these fantastic warranties. You know, and the warranty usually is only as good as the people who honor it,
yeah,
right? And so we don't even offer a guarantee. The only guarantee we actually have is that we'll do the best job possible, and if there's ever a problem, we'll come back and fix it, right?
yeah,
That's the best guarantee that I know of, because others will offer 2-year guarantee, 3-year guarantee, whatever that might be. So you're telling me that if there's a problem, just like in 3 years, or 3 years and 5 days, well, too bad, good luck,
yeah,
right? No, we'll still come back and fix it,
mm,
especially if it's something that maybe we didn't do right. Now, um, it's just it's like a car warranty. You ever notice that the car warranty is specifically built around it not breaking until 5 years later, 3 years
that's
later,
right.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
So like I said, the warranty is great, to say, but the reality of backing it up is the difference.
Yeah.
And plus we want to maintain a local feel, right? We want our franchisees to be the face of the business. We want people to know that when they call Richard's Painting, they're actually talking to, may not be Richard, although everybody says it. That the whether it's Michelle or it's Frank or whoever, that they're talking directly to people who are making decisions, and I think
Mm.
people respect that.
Yeah.
And especially when you're working in people's houses and businesses, they want people they can trust. And so I think that's how we set ourselves apart. We're just trying to be everything that nobody else is.
Yeah, that's great. And I think your subcontractor point there is a massive difference. I don't know that I've ever heard that, so I would definitely camp out there. Um, can you give us some idea of, like, when you bring franchise owners are on, and all, obviously, is your corporate location still Salisbury and kind of that Mooresville area, and have you added more additional corporate outlets, or are you just planning on staying in that location and bringing franchise owners on
Yeah.
all over?
So yeah, our base is Salisbury. Actually, Mooresville is now a franchise location.
Okay.
So we sold that. I sold that as a location. Then we went opened up another company location in Concord, and then I turned around and sold that as a franchise location. So
Got it.
that was kind of the beginning goals. Also was to if I can't get a franchisee, I'm going to create one.
Mhm.
Where if I can get this business up and running and start get the sales, and hire somebody, it may be easier for a franchisee to come in and take over this location, and because it's already running and there's some revenue coming in, where they're going to have a quicker, quicker time to profitability. And so, that was the goal at the beginning. And then as you grow as a franchise, you don't have to do those same things. You don't have to work as hard because now you have a proven business model, right? You have something that, you have people who can substantiate what you're saying and what you're doing, from their mouth, not from mine. Yeah, because I can say it all day long. I love this business. I love painting, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty biased. But
Yeah.
when you have people who have never been involved before, and then they're happy and they're successful, and then when they start talking to potential franchisees, it makes your job that much easier.
That's awesome. And is the idea, when when somebody becomes a franchise owner and they own that territory, call it Concord, call it Mooresville, is the idea that they can make the living that they want to make owning that one territory, or is the idea like, hey, you need to become a multi-unit operator to really start to scale this thing, or is one territory enough for a lot of these franchise owners?
I mean, I definitely believe one location's enough. I mean, I'm in one location, and truthfully, our sales range between 1 million to 1.2 million on average, per year. We're operating on a 30% net profit, goal. So, you know, if you can't live on that kind of money, then maybe we're doing something wrong, right? And so, I truly believe that multi-unit owning is great for people who want to be, have that sense of what they're doing. But I always say this: there's other franchises out there for them.
Yeah.
There's in the space that we're in now. There's many newer franchise, especially in painting, that are selling 5, 7, 10 territories.
Mhm.
And good for them. I hope it works really well. For our
Yeah.
business, it becomes less local when you try to go too far, right? And then the overhead, the responsibility of maintaining quality work is going to go down the bigger you get.
Mhm.
And so no matter how hard you try to say that it's the same, it never is.
Right.
And I'm not, look, Richard's Painting is going to be, smaller locations that can generate usually $1 million a year in their territories. If they want to really work hard, they can do more than that. We're just trying to create really good businesses and communities. And, you know, I can only answer that question right now as the 22 locations that we have. Um, yeah, at this moment in time, that's not our goal, right? I want to have, one owner per location that is trying to make the best out of that location.
Awesome.
And, there's no need, again, it's for other people,
Yeah.
not us. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think and my next question ties into that a little bit, Richard, but to set the stage a little bit, I think in franchising, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I can certainly say that, as franchisors, you learn a lot as you go through the building of an actual franchise system, especially if you haven't done it before. And so asking a question now about what your vision looks like for the future could very well change in the future when you're actually operating the franchise system, a year or two or 5 years from now. But knowing what you know now, Richard, and kind of playing on the theme of trying to keep it local, do you have kind of a barrier to where how far you'll sell units, or is your goal to be have Richard's painting in most of the markets, major markets around the country? What's that look like for you today? Again, even though your vision may change in the future and you may be only southeast.
No, yeah, I mean, well, currently we cover the country, so we are in Bellingham, Washington State.
Oh wow,
So as far out there, we have a location in Michigan, in Tennessee, New Orleans, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Florida. So yeah, so it's all over. And truthfully, one of the great things about our business as a franchise, our model works in not only big territories, but also small.
mm,
I would even say that our strength is the outskirts of the big city,
yeah,
right? Just like here in North Carolina, where we have 10 or 12 locations now. We don't even have a location in the middle of Charlotte, but we
mm,
have one in Waxhaw, one in Huntersville, one
mm,
in Harrisburg, Concord, Mooresville. We have one coming to Gastonia,
yeah,
right? But nobody's actually in Charlotte.
yeah,
So where I think on the other end, like if you were to talk to other franchise, businesses, especially service, they would be focusing on Charlotte first, and then
yeah,
out from there. I think we're more the opposite, where we're kind of working our way out and in, and I
mm,
think that's what makes us a little bit better as far as opportunity. So we can help not only a small, somebody who wants to stay small and not really, grow the business to a huge amount, or we can also have those people who want, the example is if you want to be in Austin, Texas, right? We've had people, we've talked to, hasn't worked out yet, but, within a 3 mile radius, there's 250,000 people,
yeah,
right? So, the situation and the way the business will be there is going to be way different than it is in Salisbury, North Carolina, where in Salisbury there's 37,000 people,
yeah,
right? The entire county has 140.
yeah,
So, you know, it's a lot different, right? So it depends on the circumstances, but that's what the good thing is that our business works in any model, right? It doesn't have to be small, it doesn't have to be big, it can be medium. And so, while others rely on huge volume to maximize their business, ours can run with volume, no volume, and that's what I like about our business
yeah.
moving forward, for longevity especially.
Definitely. To turn our attention to the sales aspect side of things, Richard, like in the painting world, where do most of the leads come from? Is a lot of it tying into the fact that you do have owners that are local and they're out in the local community making connections, or does a lot of it live online in the digital marketing, Google Ads space where you get a lot of those leads from?
Well, at the beginning, you have to be digital, right?
Yeah,
You can't, especially, good thing digital is here nowadays, right? Because, 10, 15 years ago, before Facebook, before Instagram, before, all these other services. I remember when I first moved to North Carolina, I think, before, it used to be called, home, it wasn't Home Advisor, it was Home something. I forgot what the heck the name of it was, but it was Service Master, I think is what it was called, or Service something. But anyway, before at one point that when I first started, it was actually a really good service. It worked really well. And then as they grew and got bigger and bigger, the service kind of got out of hand where it's just mainly terrible leads, cost a lot of money, and
yeah,
it doesn't work anymore. But that being said, for a new location, we focus on, yes, Google Ads. Facebook has become one of the number one lead sources to get off the ground. The reason we like Facebook is because it's like instantaneous. You literally create ads, and then 10 minutes later, you will see the ad online, like, on Facebook, on Instagram. And
yeah,
so you're starting to reach people instantly. Google is more like a locomotive. It's not something that you can go out and say the first day, oh wow, we're going to start getting calls from Google. It's something that it may take 2 to 3 months to build up the algorithms and the presence and all those things that you're doing to then have it start to translate into leads. But once it does start to work, it becomes consistent. You're going to get 7 to 10, leads on our budgets,
Mm.
every month, without fail once it starts to work.
Yeah.
And but then, yeah, so once you get conquer that part, we just had a monthly meeting yesterday. We're talking about this. I'm going through the list of where everybody's leads are coming from. And I tell everybody this: if we're open over a year and the number one lead source is Google and Facebook, we're screwing up. There's something
Yeah.
wrong, right? We cannot be relying on that, right? It's a great tool. It gets you started, it gets you out of the gate, it gets you moving. But we need to have more referrals, more seeing the signs, seeing the vans, recommendations. Oh, it came from this contractor or this roofer, whoever the situation is. So as that business gets off the ground, you have to do the old school guerrilla marketing and get out there and really make it happen at that point. So at the beginning, digital is the way to go because it just gives you a jump start. And then once your business becomes more established, you have to start to make it work.
Are most of the franchise owners with Richard's Painting, are they like owner operator types, or do they have general managers in between them and field teams, or what does the franchise owner end up looking like in terms of their role?
Yeah, I would say right now we're still heavily owner operator,
Yeah.
and that's really by design. Because again, our goal in our business is to bring in owners and try to keep their costs down as much as possible, and have a quicker time to profitability.
Hmm.
So if you go with a general manager, you hire people, obviously, and I tell everybody the same thing. That's you can do it. It's no problem, but it's going to take you 6, 8, 10 months to become profitable compared to if you do this yourself, you do the estimates, you start running the jobs, you're profitable within a month, and that's no lie because literally, once you start getting jobs, you just hire one person to start painting, and money is coming in, cash flow starts, and then you can go from there. So the goal for us is to start it that way, owner operator, and then build into the to hiring a general manager, hiring maybe a salesperson,
Yeah.
getting an office, and having a secretary or somebody there answering phones. So we like to grow that business and get there, not necessarily start there. At
Yeah.
that point.
Makes a lot of sense. And we'll start to wrap it up here, Richard. But if we could turn our attention just to some of the candidly, just some of the downsides, the drawbacks to just the painting industry. What are the struggles that you've experienced over your tenure in painting, maybe at the franchise and corporate level, but also like day in and day out franchise owners, they run into this. Like, is it just beat down on price? Is it, trying to get that lead from the next guy? Is it, customer satisfaction issues? I could imagine might be one, but like, what are some of the ones that stick out to you most about just the painting industry in general?
I mean, number one thing is always going to be pricing, and
Yeah.
it's not the problem in painting in general is everybody values themselves differently, right? And so when you feel like you have a value and you represent a certain value to that customer, the pricing is be relative, right?
Mm.
We know that we're going to be responsive, we're going to do a good job, we're going to use the best paints that are available, so our price is going to be higher, but you have the number one thing is, and I'm sure in your business it's probably the same thing. You if I knew every time who I was bidding against, this would be easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But when you go to 10 jobs, you can look at 10 jobs in one week, and 10 of them you'll be bidding against 12 different people,
Yeah.
right? And so you never know where the prices are. Like this happens so much, especially new locations. For us, most of the time you're going to hear, "Wow, your price was twice as much as the other people." Okay,
Hmm.
right? And so, you can't, it's hard to win like that, right? Now we can win if we're in a percentage closer, 10%, I think we are good enough to win those. But, the problem is that you go to one job and the price is, you're $5,000 higher. You go to another job, similar amount of work, and you were $1,500 cheaper
Yeah.
because you were scared from the first one, so you lowered it, and
Right.
now you were too low, right? And so that's really the struggle. But I will say this for our franchisees, and I tell them this all the time, that yes, at the beginning your prices are going to be lower than we want them to be, but I promise you, as time goes on, our prices will increase.
Hmm.
And I will tell you, every franchisee, if I put them on this call right now, would tell you that their prices are higher than they were a year ago. And the
Yeah.
reason that is because confidence gets higher. the amount of jobs you actually have on the books is higher. So you can become more selective in who you're going to, give better prices to and when. The
Yeah.
great thing about our business, unlike many other businesses, we dictate what the price is every day, right? It
Mm,
doesn't, we have a set price we know we have to kind of make to be break even,
yeah.
right? But, if, we have this great thing where we give everybody the tool to say, okay, this job is $5,000, but hey, let's say it's Friday afternoon, we have no work to do on Monday.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll do it for 3,500? Right, to
Hmm.
get us to keep the flow moving, to keep the train going down the tracks. But conversely, let's say you have 20 jobs on the books and that job is $5,000. Well, maybe we're going to tell them it's going to be 6,950, right?
Hmm.
And if they say yes, great, we'll add it to it. But if no, we got plenty of work. We don't have to stress about it. So
Yeah.
we give everybody the flexibility in their pricing. We give them the baseline, and then you can change it from there. So that's what I love about our business.
Yeah. Well, I think brand recognition goes a long way, right? And that only comes with time and doing great
Yes.
work and treating the customers right. Because to your point, outside of just the referral or the repeats that will come in, and I've got a new location, Richard. You guys did such a great job at my house. I want you to paint my business, or vice versa, or whatever. It takes a long time to get those repeat customers, but when you do and you do good work, they're going to start to spread your name throughout the community. And 5 to 10 years from now, you may not be having that same conversation with the franchise owner that just launched today in 10 years about how to price. They're likely going to be pricing jobs on the higher end for you than the new franchise owner because they're more established and they've got that name and they're not competing as much for those jobs because they've got Richard's Painting in Harrisburg, North Carolina, that has just a great name behind it. There's a lot of value there across any industry. So I think that's huge. Last thing I'll ask, Richard, what's your advice to your younger self? Like if you could go back a year, if you could go back 20 years, 30 years, and give yourself one piece of advice of like you should know this now so that when you get to be my age now in this current day, like it would be helpful. Anything come to mind specifically?
Well, yeah. As soon as you say that, I'm trying to think back. I don't have anything that I think I did wrong. The only thing I think I could do, wish I would have done better, is act faster.
Hmm.
Right? I think sometimes, many times, you have lots of goals and thoughts in your mind. Right? You want to do this, you want to do that, but the actual execution of it sometimes takes a long time because you're just not confident. Right? You're not sure if it's going to work. You're scared. You don't have support. So the only thing I would say I wish I would have done is move faster.
Yeah.
Right? Don't wait so long, to let the opportunity slip away. So yeah, if I were to go back, I would just say, if I really think it, then just do it, right? And that's probably my biggest advice is, if you got an idea, you have a dream, you have something you want to work towards, just go do it. Don't
Yeah.
wait 3 4 years, to say, oh, finally I'm ready.
Yeah, that's similar to mine. When people ask me, I wish I would have started sooner. Is mine. So kind of similar. I just wish I would have gotten into business ownership and entrepreneurship a little bit sooner and just gone, and I would have failed. And I think that would have been great for me. There's no better way to learn anything in life until you do it. So that's always been mine. So, Richard, I appreciate the time, man. And like I said to the audience, we've been connected for a while, just as kind of acquaintances online, if you want to call us that. And I've enjoyed following your journey, and it's been exciting to see the growth. And I know you'll continue to grow. So, thanks for giving us a snippet of your life and what you're building there at Richard's Painting. If you want folks to find you in your company, your franchise system, what's the best way for them to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, the simplest way is, just go online, search Richard's Painting, and usually there'll be a lot of outlets to find you there. Then, just the website's richardspainting.net, and then you can find everything about franchising. You can find, if you need assistance in getting something painted, you can find a location near you,
Yeah,
and that's the easiest way to do it.
that sounds great. Well, again, man, appreciate the time, and I look forward to continuing to follow the journey. Thanks so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, Richard, let that